like a freight train through some lonely country town. We can watch from behind our window, wondering where it might be bound, or you could lie beside me, darling, in the candles dancing glow, where the secret's just a gentle touch, and the fine art of taking it slow. We all keep our list of reasons to extinguish a burning love. Fire's wild and needs constant tending. Nothing ever is enough, and we can all know the future until the moment's past. Take me back to the night I met you, before the spell was cast. Time is passing like a freight train through some lonely country town. We can watch from behind a window, wondering where it might be bound, or you could lie beside me, darling, in the candles dancing glow, where the secret's just a gentle touch, and the fine art of taking it slow. So I was coming out of a crazy year of breakups and heartbreaks and weird non-committal, friendship-destroying, purgatorial affairs, and wondering what was going to happen to me and everybody, because it also had just been the 2016 election, the previous fall, and it was springtime, and I was finishing up my stay in New Orleans for the year, about to go traveling and playing festivals and gigs all over the country, and I had about a month or so left to stay there, and wasn't even looking anymore for love, because I just had a bunch of silly mishaps and was just lounging about in my boxers at my house, and my roommate had this guy come over to do a stick and poke tattoo, and I was thinking maybe I'll get a tattoo too, because he's going to do a few different people. And I ended up staying up and hanging out with them in my boxers and just having a good time as he tattooed my friends. And I thought, well, maybe he's done, 2 long tattoos already tonight. I'm not going to wait and make him do a tattoo that I want. I just wanted the word communicate tattooed across my wrist as a reminder, because so many mistakes I've made in my life have been the result of just not asking the one extra question that you had on your mind, or saying the one extra little plan change that you had. And I didn't end up doing it that night because I didn't want him to have too much of work to do, and I went to sleep. And the next day I found a note left from him on the envelope upon which I had written communicate. And he was saying, hey, let's meet up and get this word tattooed on your wrist. And I thought it was kind of cute how he had left this note. And I thought, maybe he likes me. I don't know. I hadn't really been thinking about it. And so I got in touch with him, and we planned to do this tattoo. And it was my first tattoo, and it was a stick and poke. So that's a very intense experience to go through with your tattooer, to have this long stick and poke all close to you. And it was pretty bonding experience for me, and we just ended up getting very, very close over few weeks we had together before he was leaving. And he was from Canada, and so he's going to go back to Canada. And we kind of ended up falling in love and staying in touch, and we planned for me to come visit him in Canada. And at first we were envisioning kind of like I'd stay there maybe indefinitely, after that election. It'd be nice to move to Canada. But, we'll have to see how it goes. And he rented a house up in Halifax where he was, and we were going to go camping and all this stuff and hang out with a bunch of his friends. And I ended up having other gigs come up and stuff I had to do, so my trip was shortened to being planned for 8 days. And so I flew up there and ended up kind of losing a day because of flight cancellations and delays. So it was really more like 7 days. And there were just a lot of little mishaps along the way that went wrong, or ways I handled things, ways he handled things. And it was an odd trip. It wasn't as beautiful and easy as expected, but I still had a lot of hope for this connection I had. And we were kind of giving each other a lot of gifts, and I guess that might have been my love language. Not big gifts, but just these thoughtful little things, or giving things to each other that we like. Like I liked this bracelet he had, and he just gave it to me, and that really meant a lot to me. I was like, wow, it's just so sweet to just give each other things all the time. Then I had to go play a bunch of gigs out west, and he went out west as well, only Western Canada. And we met up after all these gigs, and I was just thinking about him the whole time, and we kept in touch, and just it grew and grew, the feeling. And when I got there, I just expected it to be so amazing, and I took this 30-hour Greyhound trip to get out to this farm he was working on. And I was going to go work on the farm as well, and then we were going to go visit my family on Vancouver Island together, and we had this whole plan. And I got there, and just everything was strange. He just kept saying all these defeatist things about our relationship, and we had some really sweet moments, and it was a beautiful farm, and his friends out there, as well as in Halifax, had been really lovely. I loved his world, and his art, and his spirituality, and a lot of ways we had a really lovely connection, but it wasn't necessarily this love connection that we were kind of trying to make happen, but feeling awkward about. And I kept just kind of thinking, well, not everything's going to be perfect, but if we're here and someone's here and you have this, enjoyment of them, why not just sit back and lay with them and love them, instead of just being like, well, but this won't work in the long run, and this won't work, and this is different, and he just like found fault with everything, and I was just thinking, why not just enjoy the moment? But also over that period, he decided he couldn't go with me and changed his plan to go to Vancouver Island. So I ended up going by myself, and I got this really weird, stressful ride share. We were going to drive together, he and I, but I ended up having to get a ride share now that I wasn't going with him. And it was a weird ride share in itself, and in the context of me just being kind of brokenhearted and leaving and not knowing why it had happened this way. I'm just thinking, sometimes it seemed like I was doing too much and pushing too much into this relationship, and sometimes it was that I didn't do enough. I'm leaving too early, even right now. Why am I leaving? And all this stuff. And I went and visited my family on Vancouver Island, and we were up in the town they used to live in, and called Cumberland, BC, which is this old logging town in the mountains. And I had my fiddle, and there wasn't really anyone walking around. It was just a very sleepy, quiet little town at the moment, and I took out my fiddle to busk, and I was just playing alone to nobody and thinking, well, I'm playing to nobody right now, and I kind of keep doing this. I keep hiding myself and not really showing what I have to offer to the world, and choosing the wrong spot and the wrong person and the wrong place, all these different things. And maybe I'm just processing all this like dead leaves and detritus, and I'm this lump of coal, and eventually I'm going to be like a diamond and come out of all of this darkness. But for the time being, while people try to connect with me during this darkness time, they get kind of overwhelmed by them, and it doesn't work out. And I mean, they get overwhelmed by the darkness around me. And I really was processing a lot of things and beginning a lot of shadow work that was probably repelling people in a way. It was that point in my psychochemistry alchemy at the moment. Not that I was mean or anything, but it was just like a lot of, victim-y behaviors and stuff that I've given up at this point on my spiritual journey. And yeah, just these quiet country towns, and just thinking time is passing while we're here, and we're letting life go by, but why not enjoy the time while it's passing and not worry about what's going to be perfect. And I kept thinking about how I get really obsessed with people and so distraught because of my obsession and connection with them. And I tried to think back, well, what about before you even met this person? You were doing fine without them because you didn't even know they existed. And if only you could just go back to that moment before you fell for them, and everything would be so much better. And so I was thinking all about all these things and writing a song as I was busking by myself to nobody. And I ended up taking this old melody I had started working on. I had actually woken up with it the previous summer, this melody, but it had other words to a song that I thought I was going to call Power of Prayer, just about praying as a family or with your friends. And I ended up, if you follow this series, the last song I presented was Power of Prayer with totally different words and melody. So I do a lot of that switching around melodies and lyrics as my songs are gestating, and they end up being really different from how they looked in the beginning. But so that is how I ended up. Oh, but one more thing was the first time that I ever lay with this lover who is from Canada in New Orleans. He just moved so slowly, slower than anyone I'd ever been with. And it was really a sweet thing for me. And we had the candle glowing, dancing next to us. It was this really lovely moment. And I thought of this line, the fine art of taking it slow. And I thought I should write a song called that. And so over the next several months, this song was formed based on that title.